We're going to continue with Hello Universe and chapter 20. And when we left off, Valencia is in the woods and she brought a big bowl of cereal to feed the stray dog there she calls Sacred. And we learned that she had a really good friend named Roberta. And then one day Roberta decided she didn't want to be friends with her anymore. So, chapter 20. The question of yelling. Virgil could not recall a single time in his life when he had yelled. He was sure he must have. Who goes 11 years of their life without yelling once? But he had an excellent memory, and he couldn't remember yelling. He wondered if he had even yelled when he was a baby. He would have to ask his mother. She would know. "You're the quietest boy in the history of the whole Salinas family," his mother used to say. "And then, if we ever take you back home, we'll have to teach you how to speak. Otherwise, no one will ever see you, and you might get squished by a cabaro or a jeepney." This made her laugh, even though she said it a million times already, so Virgil wasn't sure how she could still think it was funny. He hadn't found it very funny the first time, to tell you the truth. When he imagined himself getting squashed by a caribou or a jeepney, it terrified him, even though he wasn't quite sure what either of those things were. It's not that he felt unloved, exactly. He just didn't know why his parents were so preoccupied with him coming out of his shell. What was so bad about his shell, anyway? Turtles had survived on Earth more than 200 million years, longer than snakes or crocodiles even. And turtles lived a long time, too. American box turtles lived to be over 100, and they have had excellent eyesight and senses of smell. Turtles truly were extraordinary animals. What if people had forced turtles to come out of their shells 200 million years ago? They probably wouldn't exist anymore. Virgil leaned against the mushy wall of the well. There was a short ledge that circled the bottom, but it didn't give him enough of a boost to reach the ladder. He wondered if he should sit. Was sitting down the same as giving up? He wondered what time it was. He wondered if he should yell. It seemed like the sensible thing to do, but when he opened his mouth, he imagined his cries for help sailing up, 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 booming across the woods, shaking the leaves, frightening the birds, and landing on the thick, waxy ears of Chet Bullens. Then he imagined the bull charging forward, grunting and panting and sniffing him out like a wolf. Then he saw the bull pick up the cover of the well and shut him inside forever. Best to wait a while, Virgil thought, until the bull had most likely gone home. Trouble was, he had no idea how long a while was because he didn't have a watch and his cell phone was broken. So he decided to go by the feel. Did it feel like 10 minutes or 40 since he'd been down below? Who could say? Virgil wasn't great with numbers in the first place, and he certainly wasn't great at telling time, with or without a clock. It was something that had once frustrated his dad so much that he'd thrown up his hands one afternoon and said, "Ay Dios coy, never mind, Virgilio. Just figure out the beginning and ends and don't worry about the time in the middle." Virgil wasn't sure if this was a beginning, an end, the middle, or what. All he knew was that his legs ached and the sun didn't seem as bright. So he threw back his head and called out, "Hello, hello." It didn't feel much like noise, though. Could anyone hear him? He needed to be louder. "Hello, hello." Gulliver's whiskers stopped moving, his round black eyes fixed on Virgil from his nest in the backpack, which Virgil was wearing backwards so he could lean against the wall and watch Gulliver at the same time. "Hello, hello, help, help." He'd never called out for help before. It sounded strange. But if he was ever in need of help, this was it. He mustered all the strength he could from deep, deep down and took a large breath that filled his chest like a balloon. Then he yelled, his most powerful yet, "Help! Help!" His voice startled him. It didn't sound like his. It charged through his body, down to his toes. Who knew he could be this loud? If only his parents could hear him now. There's the end of chapter 20.